It's Tuesday, May 24th, 2016. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, it's a fast food fracas with fast food franchise and Food Chain Magnate.
Food chain isn't necessarily fast food.
That is true. But I needed an alliteration with the F.
Let's do this.
So yeah, there wasn't Geek Nights in a while because we were at PAX, and then I got the flu, and then I flew to Hong Kong, and then I lived in Australia for 2 weeks, and now I'm back, like, over the weekend, and I guess we're doing Geek Nights again.
All right.
Anything happened while I was sick and then gone?
Yeah, something happened today.
Oh.
So, over the weekend, I made some cookies, and then I brought them to work yesterday, like I always do.
That's nice. A guy at our office brings cookies occasionally, and they're super high quality when he does.
That's how I always do, right? So, I left the jar there in the office, and I left work last night. And
What, that giant jar? Like the one that you always...
Yeah, it was more than half full. People didn't eat a lot of cookies yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you can only eat so many cookies, right?
I mean, I was about to say, like, you know me, right? But even I have my limit.
So I've done this many times before, but this is, I guess, the first time doing it and since we changed offices, right? But whatever.
Yeah.
So when I come in this morning, I go to get a morning cookie, like you do,
Yeah.
and the jar is just gone. Like the whole jar has disappeared.
Whoa.
And I'm like,
Wait, so like the jar was there empty or the jar itself is missing?
the entire jar is missing. It was in
What?
the spot where the jar was, there was now nothing.
All right. Did someone steal your jar?
So I go around, look, it was still really early. Hardly anyone was in the office. So I go around looking for the jar, and I found it. It was empty and perfectly clean in the kitchen.
So someone not only
So I
ate-
start looking for all the cookies, and they're
Wait,
not
you're gonna
there.
find them like in a drawer? Like,
So if people ate them all, that's fine. I'm okay with that. That's the point, is people would eat them. But I can't imagine that anyone ate that many cookies between 5 yesterday and 9 in the morning today.
yeah, especially like
Most of the people were leaving the office already, right? They weren't eating that many during the day when they were freely available at lunchtime.
Well, I mean, you know me. The situations where like I'll eat
Me?
literally all the cookies we own before Emily even comes
you
home
couldn't
from
have
work.
eaten that. Even you could not have
Yeah.
eaten that many cookies.
In that
it
fugue
was so
state
many cookies.
in Wildwood, where Skojo says, "Hey, didn't I buy a whole dozen donuts?" And everyone looks at me and they're like, "Rim, how many did you eat?"
Yeah.
I only ate like 7 donuts.
My
Like,
suspicion is that the cleaning person just fucking threw them all out. In which case, I'm gonna find them and murder them in their sleep.
but that wouldn't make sense unless your building has a weird fucked up policy of like no food overnight.
No, we don't have any such policy. But the cleaning, there's something, basically when we changed offices, my job is the same as it always was. But basically, since changing offices, there are some improvements, like better chair, even though it's still not a great chair. And
Yeah, you got no pedicle.
modern office furniture, better internet setup, right? The Wi-Fi that actually works, right? But the culture of the people in my department is the same, and all the people in general are the same, right? But the people who run the management of this office, like office managing, right, is giving me some serious problems.
Well, I know you can't ride your bike easily. Like you have to lock it up outside.
Right, I was like, the building has no problem letting me bring my bike into the building because I saw someone do it, right? And so did my other coworker who bikes. And I'm like, hey, can I just bring my bike in the office? Like, there's no room. I'm like, there's room right behind my fucking desk, right? And they're like, well, if we let you do it, we'll have to let everyone do it. I'm like, well, let everyone do it. What's the problem? They're like, it would be an aesthetic concern.
Whoa.
Right? And I'm like,
if someone ever said that to me, phrased that way, I would consider just immediately quitting.
I considered it, right? So that pissed me the fuck off.
Yeah,
because basically, you're telling me that you're that person who complains about the neighbor's car being too old.
Yep.
Right? And I'm working for you. Why should I spend 8 hours a day helping you out, right?
Yep, that's a you got time to lean, you got time to clean situation.
Right. It's like, it's like, that's not the, it's like my coworkers is still the same. The work is still the same. Everything else is still great. But I found out that I'm working for that kind of asshole, right? It's like,
You could engage in an elaborate gaslighting campaign between you and all your smart coworkers to get that person fired.
you basically like the CEO.
Oh, so the office manager is the CEO?
Right, basically, right. That's
weird, because like my company...
No, the office manager isn't the CEO, but basically they're like, the executive, the letter, I think the email said something like, the executives would not approve something.
Wow.
Right? So basically, at this company, right, we've basically we don't really interact with these, the executive level people, right? Ever, right? Since they bought us. Like, we don't talk to them or know them or anything, right? And only on like a couple of occasions there have been like weird decisions handed down from mysterious unnamed individuals.
So Scott, I can at least tell you when I worked at IBM, it was like that. Like we did our thing and everything was fine, but at one point, one of the senior management people at IBM, like top people, ended up being in our building, like in the same area. And a whole bunch of weird stuff started happening. Like suddenly, like you weren't allowed to leave doors open at certain times. And they had like rules about what could be left in public areas. And they like all this weird sort of just annoying stuff started intruding into my work.
Right. My tolerance for that is very low. So, and also another thing that happens, right, is the fucking cleaning people, right? It's like they go around every night. And if you have like a coffee mug on your desk, they take it away and clean it.
So that's not that uncommon, Scott. Corporate bullshit. Like if you
but
want
it's
to
like I have one on my desk and I don't drink any coffee. It's just there.
Yeah.
And occasionally it's just fucking gone, and I'm like, fuck. And then someone's drinking out of it, and it's like, oh, Jesus Christ. It's like, don't touch shit on my fucking desk.
But that's a specific thing that's come up in like the last 4 or 5 years. It's like the clean desk policy where a company, and I bring this up because the only companies that give a shit about that are the same kinds of companies who are worried about aesthetic concerns.
Exactly.
They want the desks to be clean.
Right. So this whole, the management of this new office, with this executive influence is pissing me the fuck off.
See, as much as I complain about like working
but the problem is I want to go, it's like everything else is great though. But, if I want to go somewhere else, the problem is I can't find anywhere else to fucking go. Right?
What about that weird place that would have paid you money for like 4 days a week?
Are they even still in business, that place?
If they still are at this point, maybe call
you know
them
what the
back.
business they were doing, right? This is the problem, right? Okay, so I'd work 4 days a week. That's terrific. Right? And they probably would have I got a bike ride into work. None of those problems would have happened.
And Scott, in 2 years, they go out of business and you just find another place that's the same and repeat.
I can't, there's no guarantee that there's a place that's the same. And also,
Scott,
the work that place was doing is they're basically hitting the YouTube API and scraping the entire thing every night.
I know.
And also, they're going to expect me to do fucking work. Right?
Yeah.
I don't do work. I sit around and get paid and don't do anything. That's how this works. Okay?
But Scott, I'm just saying, for someone who is a good developer, like a real developer, like a New York developer, like the kinds of people who want to be paid in money and not lottery tickets, you can pretty much just get a job that's
but all those jobs fucking suck. They want me to work.
Yeah, and
They actually want me to develop something, and it's like, fuck you, no, just pay me to sit here.
See, Scott, this is why I wouldn't necessarily hire you to do any work, because I know you won't do it.
No, because that's exactly the thing, is these people are expecting me to sit there for a long time working. It's like, no, that's not how obviously I don't do no work.
Yeah.
I get the work you're asking for done in 10 minutes, and then I want to fucking leave. That's how it is. And at least, no one will let me leave, but at least where I am now, I can watch YouTube after I do my 10 minutes of work.
See, I have sort of a different situation where I have more work than I could do.
Oh, yeah, but if your internet is filtered or monitored in any way, I'm not working for you.
That actually is a deal breaker, and I have said that openly anywhere I've ever interviewed in the past, and that was always okay.
Right. I mean, basically, I've tried both ways, right? I've tried the, be nice and try to convince you to hire me, and then come out negotiating at the end.
No,
what happens when I do that is they want to hire me.
Yeah.
And then I reject them because they won't agree. And then we just waste everyone's time. And then I've tried negotiating up front, and what happens then is they don't want to hire me.
See, I always came in with a separate thing. If I act like they already gave me the job and are just talking about how it's going to be when I'm there. That's how I treated every interview I've ever done.
I mean, that's, I want you to hire me mode.
Yeah, but at the same time, those interviews are always for places I actually did want to work. I decided, I do want to work here.
There's no place I want to work. I want to not work.
Well, there's really no place in modern society for you.
You don't say.
Yeah. We're not post-scarcity yet.
I want to work as little as possible, but every place that wants to hire me wants me to work more.
Now, just saying, what if our Patreon got to the point to where you could make the same money you make now, but we were paid just to do Geek Nights 4 nights a week again, but we made the same money we make now?
Yeah, that'd be if you're giving me that much money.
No, but I'm just saying, as a theoretical, if the Patreon were at that level, would you be willing to put the effort in to do Geek Nights 4 nights a week like we used to?
4 nights a week? No,
Yeah.
well, I mean, we just do 4 nights, 1 day in the week.
We're incapable of doing 2 nights in 1 day now without considerable bitching.
But I don't have to go to work. I can just wake up on Monday. On Monday, record 4 podcasts.
Yeah. But I'm saying, is
So that's
that an
fine.
acceptable level of like required work and office work, everything all mixed in, and money? Would that work for you?
It's only 4 hours a week. That's okay.
It's more like 6 hours because it takes us a while to actually figure out what to do the show on.
I think with 6 days of doing stuff, I could get up enough material to do 4 shows.
Yeah, I mean, I got to say, like having basically 3 weeks off of GeekNights just because of sickness and travel.
We could even do 8 shows in 2 days.
Holy shit, do I have stuff for like a month or 2 worth of GeekNights just like queued up now.
But you'll forget it all.
I put it all in Google Keep
Okay.
because I'm real smart now.
Whatever.
So in the news,
It's not happy times.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I just went to my company. I was like, hey, I just want a bunch more money. And they were like, oh, shit. Okay.
I mean, I could ask for money anytime also. They give me money every year, and I'm like, I want days. And they're like,
Well, if you know you're not going to take the days anyway, just start getting more and more money, and maybe you'll build up enough of a nest egg of money by doing that to be able to take a bit more risk later.
I mean, I could just, I don't want to take any risks. This doesn't work. I need to stay in New York City. Right? If I was gonna leave New York City, I could just not work for like years. I could go
Wait,
live in the
Scott,
States.
you just want to live in New York and not have to do really work.
Yes.
Work for the city in some sort of union.
Like what union?
I don't know. Work for the MTA.
That's not enough money.
Yeah, it's enough money to live here.
Not enough money.
It's
to
not
keep
a nice
the
apartment.
apartment I have now.
Oh no, you'd be in a shitty apartment.
I could move to a shitty apartment now if I wanted to and save a bunch of money.
Just remember, we could go back to Beacon and live there for like 5 years just on our savings.
Yeah, I'm not taking any trains.
No, but we wouldn't be working anymore. We'd just be living up there, burning savings for 5 years, and then I don't know, crime.
Yeah.
Anyway, as you guys might have noticed, we've been playing a lot of Civ 5 suddenly. Like, just that bell rang, and we've been playing. Like, I'm in 5 GMR games right now.
I'm in 1.
Yep.
I don't know what you're doing with your life. You have time for 5.
It does not take a lot of time to play GMR games because the only game I'm putting serious effort into is the big game I'm playing with the rest of the FRC, which you and James were eliminated from, and everyone else is dangerous. So it's funny and weird to me that we just, for whatever reason, like doubled down on playing Civ 5, like serious multiplayer Civ 5, and then they're just like, oh yeah, guys, Civ 6 is coming out like October next year.
Civ 5's a lot older than you think.
I know.
We saw it at a PAX once. It was like when it came out.
Wasn't that the same PAX we brought John St. John? I'm pretty sure it was. That was a long time ago.
It might have been the release date of PAX 5 of Civ 5 was 2010.
But
September
Civ 5,
2010.
Remember, Civ 5 was kind of a shit game that didn't really exist until Brave New World, the second major expansion. Just like Civ 4 was kind of a shit game until the final expansion.
I don't really remember too much, the difference.
When Civ
because
5 first came out,
I didn't play it so
I
extensively.
played it a lot. When Civ 5 first came out, it was boring, unplayable bullshit. I played through it twice, and I was literally done with it. There was no reason to ever play it again. It was that bad. Gods and Kings gave me one more playthrough. Brave New World made it a game that I'm willing to play 5, like,
I don't even know which
many-month-long.
stuff was added in which expansions, because I played the original a little bit, and then I didn't. And then I bought, there was like some Steam sale, like the whole everything.
So
for
Scott,
like
I'll give you an
$10,
example.
and I got them.
Ideologies, that's new. All that like crazy endgame stuff is brand new.
What ideologies?
You don't know about ideologies?
What are you talking about?
The thing called ideology in Civ.
Where is it?
Once you hit the industrial era, someone picks fascism, order. You'd pick autocracy, order, or democracy.
Oh, that thing on the left where it's like there's 3 symbols for each one.
Yeah.
I didn't figure out what those really do. And I don't
Really?
know. I didn't really
That's the best part of Civ.
I didn't really know what makes them appear or which ones to choose or what effects
Okay, I'll tell
they
you this.
have.
It appears as soon as you build 3 factories.
Oh, you know why? That's why I don't see it too often, because so many fucking times I play this goddamn game and there just happens to not be any coal near me and I can't get any fucking coal.
Yes,
and I
you
can't
can.
build
There's
any
there's going to be
factory.
like 4 city-states that've got coal, or you've got
How
to
did I get the city-state to give me coal?
just be allies with them.
I can't get them to be allies with me.
Just give them money or do their
Allies
quests.
require so much influence with the city-state.
And it is so weird. Scott, I'm already in the solo game we're playing right now. I am allied with one city-state and friends with 2 more.
Yeah, there's 2 city-states that I can see.
And I gave them...
have quests that I cannot possibly fulfill in any
Scott, I know what those
near-term
quests
period.
were. You can go for them.
There
You
is
just
no
don't know
chance
how.
of me succeeding at any of those quests.
How so? And anyway, you might have some problems in that game soon.
I already have problems in that game.
Well,
have no money.
part of that's because I got that trireme blockading your whales.
Well, I'm building a trireme to defend my whale.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's see what happens to that trireme because there's things you can't see just out of range.
All right, that's fine.
Hanging out. Anyway, Civ 6 is coming next year, and something amazing happened after they announced that. Daryl Surratt pointed this out, but I went and confirmed it. Civ 5 went from not being in the top 10 to being the number 3 game people were playing on Steam.
Over what time period?
Just overall, if you went in there and it showed today.
But I'm saying, when was it not in the top 10, and then when was
It hadn't been in the top 10 for 6 months or a a just wasn't up there.
When did it hit the top 3?
The day after they announced Civ 6 was coming out.
Oh, so you say, okay, the announcement. I thought you were
Civ
saying
6 was announced. Immediately, everyone was like, oh, right, and started playing Civ 5 again.
Mm-hmm.
I think Giant Multiplayer Robots actually kind of pushing that too, because a lot
How many
of people
are really using that?
A lot. Go in there and look at the games that are looking for players. Holy shit, are a lot of people using that.
I don't know how many people know about that.
I think
can't imagine the percentage of those people playing on Steam. I imagine a very small number of
I would
them.
wager that at least a third of all the people who are playing Civ 5 right now are playing multiplayer with that. Because you can't play multiplayer any other way, for one. But anyway, Civ 6 is coming. I don't know if it'll be good or not because
there's not enough info.
either they're going to release it and it'll suck, and then they'll have their expansion that makes it good later.
It's always good to assume that history will repeat.
Yeah, but Civ 5 taught me that.
It's usually true.
Civ taught me that. Every Civ.
Yeah, I mean,
if someone built Leonardo's Workshop,
I'm pretty safe betting a new iPhone's coming in September. Pretty safe bet, right?
Yeah, there's gonna be an iPhone 7
so
SE.
it's a pretty
in
safe
September.
bet. Civ 6 will be a lot like Civ 5.
But if they're smart, and I don't want to impinge upon their game designers or whatever, but for real, they need to take the stuff that they added in Brave New World, the current state of Civ 5, because it is the best Civ has ever been, and iterate from that and skip the phase where they make a stripped down bullshit version like they did in every other release, and then add expansions to it later. And I think that's what they're actually going to do, because here are the things that they're adding. One, cities will take multiple tiles, and those tiles can be specialized in some fashion.
So now I got to defend 1 million hexes when my city gets all
Well,
big?
it means maybe I take over your industrial district, but the rest of the city is still resisting.
Yeah, well, if my industrial district is taken over, how can I build a military unit to fight?
I don't know. We'll see. 2, active research. So research is going to be more than just the tree. You can do stuff in-game, like build units and do things that boost certain types of technology. So, go into the jungle and do some bullshit and get a certain kind of technology faster.
So manual labor. My manual labor and not my workers' manual labor.
Well, no, because you can probably automate that like you can with
I
everything
feel like
else.
that's something that's abstracted by having a worker work.
Yeah, so
right?
basically worker work can now also specialize toward particular technology things.
Mm-hmm.
Dynamic diplomacy. So the diplomacy it'll change a lot more era to era.
The diplomacy with the AI, even in Civ 5, is so bad. It's I don't understand how it works. I don't care. I just
really? It's actually, Scott, 1, it's really straightforward. 2, I can tell you exactly how it works. I know exactly how the AI will act.
the AI just randomly pesters me with things, and they're either bad or not, and I just either say yes or no.
1, it's not random.
And whenever I try
and
to
2, there's just a mathematical model.
If I try to propose anything to the AI of any kind, they basically say, "Oh, you want my luxury good? Yeah, give me your whole empire and a city." And I'm like, "No, how about I give you one of my luxury goods?" And they're like, "No, fuck you."
if I propose things to the AIs, they usually just say, yes, awesome, Rim. Thank you for doing business.
That does not happen with me.
Because you don't know how diplomacy works.
Even
Anyway,
the AI that I keep trying to be friends with, like, yes, let's be friends. Yes, friendship declaration. Yes, and then I propose something to them, and they're like, oh, you want one luxury good? All right, give me 10 gold a turn for 30 turns, and give me a city, and give me a luxury good.
So,
I'm
Scott,
like, how about I just give you one
are
luxury
you
good?
asking for a luxury good that they have multiple copies of, or one that they only have one copy
It doesn't matter. If I ever ask them for anything, they say no.
Scott, no one else has these problems.
I don't know how to manipulate them into giving me a fair deal.
But the diplomacy against humans in multiplayer can be real intense and real useful, but it's pretty limited. It looks like they're going to give you a lot more options, like alliances can be more later in the game. There are hints at things like negotiation mechanics, and there's even a hint, a vague hint, that there might be ways to make alliances for joint victory. That's a game changer. Combined arms. So actually, this is something you're going to like. So right now, the 1 unit per hex thing is good, right? Because it reduces I have 400 military units to move around the map.
Yeah, it makes it an Advance Wars aspect and not just I built more units.
Yep.
I don't care about
But the
Advance
con
Wars.
was, if you want to do something like send a land unit over the water, you have to manually make sure it's protected by sea units.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass.
And you have to manually manage all your aircraft. So now they're adding...
Well, at least the aircraft, you don't have to move around hex by hex. You just say, bomb that. Boom.
Yeah, but you have to manage the, like, what cities have which types of air units and what are they doing in their downtime. And
I wish they would just abstract away all the military stuff entirely, to where it's just, I have more military than someone, I say, I war Rim, it says, boom, Rim City explodes because you have more
that
stuff.
exists. It's called Europa Universalis.
That's too much. That doesn't abstract anything.
Plus,
that makes
I don't want to
more...
abstract it because I love the shit out of that Advance Wars nonsense.
No, I don't
but Scott, the new feature, Combined Arms, here's the exact thing. For example, if you have an anti-tank unit and an infantry unit, you can merge them into a combined arms unit, and you only have one unit to manage, and they support each other. Or you can link a warrior to some settlers, and it's just one unit. Move it out there, treat it like one unit.
Oh, well, that's much. Well, then when the settlers build, do I lose this warrior?
Nope, then the warrior's just in the city.
Okay.
And you can make, like, basically you can link a bunch of units together into, like, an army, at least for movement purposes. So you can say, hey, army, go that way, instead of...
That's good. I need that.
All that
stuff is stuff I need.
There's one line item that just says, quote, enhanced multiplayer, which I hope means finally multiplayer will work, because it's never worked in any Civ ever. I mean, giant multiplayer robot exists because multiplayer literally does not work in Civ 5.
I don't understand why it's so hard for them.
Yeah, it's like, I could design it for you, and, like, the back end can't be that hard to set up, guys. Like, if FPSs can do it, Civ can do it. Seriously.
Civ isn't even real time.
Yeah, you can have, like, 1 day latency. I'd be fine with that. And there is an ominous one, however. And so everything up until this point that I've mentioned seems like really good news, because they basically imply that the game is going to be the current state of Civ 5 with stuff added. It's almost like an expansion of Civ 5 with all of its existing expansions and a little bit of cleanup and consolidation. But the last line item, and this is from the Civ website, quote, a Civ for all players. Which, and they talk about how, like, veteran players will have new ways to tune, but new players will have, like, easy ways to play. And coupled with that is the fact that they're changing the aesthetic to look like Civ Revolutions. Remember Civ Revolution? That game was garbage ass. It was like...
It was really fast to play. That was the,
Yeah, it was free to play. It was fast to play, but it acted like a free-to-play nonsense Farmville kind of game. Like, there was no decision making.
It didn't play like a Farmville game.
There was no decision at any point in that game.
Did you play that game?
Yeah, it was so baby that I just immediately gave up on it.
It was just a very much simpler Civ.
Yeah, it was so simple that there was never a non-obvious decision to make at any point ever in any situation. So it's interesting that they're taking that art aesthetic and applying it to regular old Civ, and we'll see where that goes. I mean, we have almost no information to go on. What I told you is literally all we know. And even what I told you was peppered with speculation based on vague things that they said about what Civ 6 will be. So time will tell, but I'm not going to pre-order it, because if it's a Civ 5 or a Civ 4 or a Civ 3 situation...
Well, I mean, Civ 5 lasted 6 years. So
minus the time before Brave New World where it was unplayable.
Why do I need to get Civ 6 as soon as it comes out?
Yep, the only reason to get it if it comes out is if it basically is the Civ 5 Brave New Worlds, just better.
Like Doom just came out, and I played the multiplayer in the alpha and the beta, and it was meh. It was just basically I could just play Quake Live. Why do I need to play that?
Doom looks super
fun.
But
I want to play the single player, but I'm not paying $50. I'll wait for it to be $10.
I'll pay 20 or 30. It looks that good.
Nah.
I got money.
Yeah, I got money, but I could spend it on
Yeah, the only
better
reason to
things.
buy a game immediately is if you have infinite money and infinite free time, or it's a multiplayer game that might have either a short shelf life or a short window to get good at it before you can never be good at it.
Anyway.
Got any news?
I do. So the Spiel des Jahres nominees came out. Woo, exciting.
Yeah, I for once didn't look at that. So if you tell me what they are, this is actually me learning for the first time.
Remember, there's the Spiel des Jahres, right, which is the main award.
Yeah.
Right. There's the Kenner Spiel des Jahres, which is like the connoisseurs, right, award.
Yep.
Those are like the fancy games, right? And then there's the Kinderspiel, which is the kids games. So the Kinderspiel, the kids games, was a game called Leo muss zum Friseur, which is Leo goes to the barber. Never heard of it.
I've heard of that because I heard people talking about it.
Okay, sure.
I don't know anything about
There's
it.
a Rainer Knizia game called which I assume is about food. And there's Stone Age Junior, which is, I guess, a kid's version of Stone Age. There's a bunch of honorable mentions.
I didn't like Stone Age, though.
I don't know. Anyway, the Connoisseurs Kennerspiel des Jahres. There's Isle of Skye, which I've seen around but haven't played. It's Pandemic Legacy, which I haven't played.
Yeah, Pandemic Legacy seems like it's actually probably a pretty good game for what it is.
And then there's Time Stories, which I never heard of.
Nope, I actually have not heard of that either.
There's 3 honorable mentions. Seven Wonders Duel, which I'm kind of interested in trying.
I've heard mixed things about it, though.
Blood Rage, which I never heard of, and Mombasa, which I never heard of.
I've seen people play Mombasa. I've never played it myself, but I saw some people playing it.
Anyway, this regular Spiel des Jahres has 3 nominees. Imhotep, never heard of.
I've heard of that. In fact, I almost bought it because I saw it on sale.
Karuba, never heard of. And Codenames, which I actually played.
Codenames?
Because everyone's playing Codenames nonstop.
Codenames is actually a really good game for the type of game that it is.
Right. It's
like in that space of like semi-casual, but also like for serious trying to win social games. Like it's way fun.
At least it's unique.
It also,
I just don't, and it's like, yeah, it's cool. I just don't really ever want to play it.
I bought it, and I actually do often feel the urge to play it.
I have no desire to play it.
At PAX, when you disappeared with Tabletop and like never came back to go to dinner with us or anything, we just played Codenames like all night, and it was fun. After dinner and everything else.
There's a bunch of other games here. The honorable mentions for the regular Spiel des Jahres. Agent Undercover, Spyfall. Animals on Board, Defeasin' 7, Crazy Words.
So in fact,
Quinto.
actually, this is kind of an aside.
I don't know what these are.
But Codenames and Dixit.
Usually I know a lot more of the games that are on these things.
Well, because we've actually been kind of distracted. It's been sort of video game and anime season lately. So I haven't
for a whole year?
I haven't been super keeping up on new Tabletop. Partly because my feed, like the feed of my social media, isn't as like it's half people talking about new like regular tabletop games and half people talking about kickstarted tabletop games, which are almost universally awful.
Yeah,
so
notice how none of those Kickstarter games got nominated for any spiels.
Because they're almost all bad.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Sumer is the best tabletop Kickstarter game, and it's a video game.
Anyway.
I think there's like 1 day left on that, so back it, guys.
They got enough monies. They don't care.
Oh, as long as they made it, because it's really good.
It's good, but,
It's good. No one's made a game like that successfully in a while, and it scratches that mule itch in a big way.
Yeah, I just don't see myself actually playing it.
I do, though, because I did some playtesting, and I got like Judith and Natalie to play
I also play tested it, but then I, while I, evaluated it and it wasn't bad, I wasn't gonna, I didn't want to play it.
Most people have never experienced mules, so I got Judith and Natalie to play it, and they were like, this game looks complicated or whatever, we'll start playing. But as soon as that bidding happened, like Natalie starts pushing forward on the bidding, and I pushed past her, and she was like, oh, and she pushed past, and then I backed off at the last second. And then she was like, oh shit, I was going to do that to you. And then she bought the overpriced item. And like everyone immediately realizes how cutthroat that bidding is.
Mule bidding is a real deal.
Like mule bidding is one of my favorite mechanics in games, full stop.
It's a good mechanic, but we can just play mule.
But a friend of ours had a good idea because Dixit's in the same space as Codenames in a lot of ways.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just play Codenames, but put Dixit cards out instead.
So you have to flip over the right card.
Yeah, like we came up with some rules for it, and I got to tweak it a little bit. But there is a way to combine those two games into something.
There's not enough Dixit cards, even if you buy them all.
Yeah, but you can combine those two games.
And you need to make all the stupid little like boards that tell you.
You could combine them into something that was like a super dangerous, like for real game with some amount of effort. But anyway, things of the day. I have 2 videos here, and it's they have to be 2, and that is why it's my thing of the day. So this is a pretty crazy lock. Now, they call it the Forever Lock. This thing, they sell it as like a bike lock, like a U-lock, and they also sell it as a lock you can use for like your house, like a for real lock.
Okay.
Like the deadbolt. And it's got this crazy key that is they talk about how it's effectively unpickable because it's a traveling keyway. If you know a lot about locks, like do you know what a traveling keyway is?
I know as much as any nerd does.
So the idea of a traveling keyway is you have this crazy like weird lock and key. So you stick the key in the lock, then you twist a thing, so the key is in the lock and you can't see it. Then you twist another thing, and now the key goes into a part of the lock that can literally never be accessed from the outside, and that is how you unlock it, so there's no way to pick it. There's literally no way to get a pick in there. And this video is like a 6-minute video of a lock nerd going into extreme detail as to like why this lock is so for serious and hard to pick.
All right, and then someone just smashes it.
No, like
if you use it as a bike lock, it's like, dude, no one picks bike locks unless you have a really shitty one. They just cut them with a giant claw.
Yeah, now actually I have another video, it's not my thing of the day, where someone points out that if you use the right kinds of tempered alloy chains and things, unless you use a powered grinder, like a powered Dremel, or a 5-foot or longer bolt cutter, there's actually no way to open those.
Did you read that thing about the confessed bike thief, and he talked about how he used to steal bikes back in the day?
Yep. I think you sent me a link to that.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about bike theft on GeekNights.
He basically had a gigantic bolt cutter. They would ride around on a motorcycle. The guy would get off the motorcycle, right? Clip the bolts, give the bolt cutter to the guy on the motorcycle, then ride your bike away.
But I mean, this lock, like you can do this, you can use it as the deadbolt in your house, which at least that seems like a more reasonable thing. Because like,
if I had my own house and I could put my own lock on it, or just get some sort of digital lock.
Yeah, but that might be hackable in all much easier ways.
Not if I made it myself.
Maybe. That's like the people who roll their own encryption. Like, maybe it's better.
The encryption part I would just get from some safe, open source, trusted place.
But anyway, like, at least it makes sense. Like it's like any lock in any apartment building, I could just bump key it open, like, if I wanted to. Like, bump keys, like, I could teach any of you how to use a bump key in, like, 2 minutes.
Sure.
They just work. Just open any apartment. But it would at least make sense. Like, here's a weird lock. Like, basically can't pick it from the outside, except my follow-up video is a lock nerd who knows a lot more than that other lock nerd who throws a lot of shade at that lock nerd and similar lock nerds.
He says this lock is kind of nonsense.
He is like, whoa, guys, one, this lock is like really hard to use as a lock. Like, fuck this UX because it's got the weird key. And 2, watch me pick it in literally a minute. And how he picks it is an attack that I'd heard of, but I'm not really a lock nerd, so I didn't know what a foil attack actually was. And watching this video, I now know exactly.
Tinfoil?
Basically, it's foil tape. It's tinfoil that's sticky on one side.
I've seen locksmiths use that.
Yeah, so this video is great because this guy knows way more about locks. He's just like, yo, dog, this lock sucks. Check it out. And at one point, he's like, all right, so it's a dimple lock, and it's got 2 sets of dimples, and that's complicated. So actually, and then he starts looking at it. So this one's probably like a 3, 3, 3. Wait, are there really only 3 levels of depth here? Wait, there might only be 2 levels of depth. Whoa, that's Let's not get into that. Let's assume that there's 3. Now, a real lock will have like 7 or 9, and this guy's great. This guy reminds me of that other guy we watched the videos of where he takes dodgy electronics, and he's like, wow, this will just kill you.
Speaking of locks, how safe do you think your stuff is if you put it in the safe deposit box at the bank?
Well, because I read FARC, I know not safe at all. Is that your thing of the day, those guys?
No. I just thought of it just now.
Oh, some guys, literally, the article came out today.
It's in Astoria, near where I live.
They broke into a bank from the top. They just cut a hole in the roof and just opened every safe deposit box.
They didn't open all of them, but they took a bunch of them.
They opened as many as they could and just took everything.
Anything valuable.
Yeah.
So I guess the vault in the bank isn't really a vault. It's just basically a vault door with a room behind it, and you can just break into that room from the ceiling or through the drywall.
I suspect the only banks that have actual vaults are like pre-war banks.
Well, if you go, someone pointed out that if you go through like the desert, there's old Wild West banks, and the vaults are still there. Nothing else in the town is there.
Yeah.
Also, in Manhattan, you can go and find safe deposit boxes in old.
Yeah, you go to the
that
places that like the ultra rich people use.
Yeah, we can go there.
Yeah.
It's not really expensive. Right?
Thing is, if I bust into a safe deposit box, the only things I would take would be SD cards and USB sticks. Because you know that that's like passwords to back ends of dangerous shit.
Maybe. Anyway, so here's my thing of the day. Back in 1994, when we were like 12.
94.
Right? At the Consumer Electronics Show.
I was in, 6th, 7th grade anyway.
Right, there wasn't like an E3. Maybe there was an E3 then, but there was still there were a lot of video games at the Consumer Electronics Show, because it's not like there was a PAX. Right?
Yeah, back then, there were gaming cons, but they were like grognard old D&D style.
And this was the 16-bit era. So they were showing off at this 1994 Consumer Electronics Show a game for the Genesis / Super Nintendo that never came out. But somebody recorded video of this game with what I assume must have been a VHS camcorder or maybe Betamax camcorder.
Uh-huh.
And that video is on YouTube here for you to watch. Here is the canceled, never officially released, never found in any form except for this video. I guess all the code must be deleted, or who knows. The officially licensed 16-bit Akira video game.
Whoa!
Could have been a real thing. Never was. But you can see it's pretty impressive, the parts that they made, mostly the cutscene parts.
Yeah,
the game parts
tended to have really good cutscenes.
The game parts look real bad, but the cutscene parts look real good. And I guess we don't know even like if the code for this is out there anywhere. I'm sure if you found it, you would be mad, popular.
In the meta moment, the book club book is going to be Oryx and Crake by Margaret Atwood. Did you start it yet?
I read comics instead.
That's fine.
I was sitting there in my bed, and I look over to the side, and it was sitting there. And right next to it was like, some comics. And I'm like,
We can start it sometime before PAX Prime.
It doesn't look like... I got the book. I don't think it's that large. If I started reading it, I'd probably finish it in like a week.
So I was going to just stop the wheel of time and just move on to other stuff. But in the 13th book, suddenly it was like, oh shit, let's wrap up every single thread and tell you everything.
Did they go to the tower, the snake people?
They're on their way there. So basically...
that's all I want to know.
So, remember way back, a character is like, hey, what's the deal with this tower? Mm-hmm. And someone from the tower is like, you are way too low level for this.
Yes, I read that part.
Yeah, so now someone was like, guys, you're high enough level now. Go into that tower. Here's the deal. Here's what that tower is. Here's the deal. Here's the deal with the doorways. Everything's explained. Go.
Tell me what it is then.
No, read the books.
I'm not reading 13 books. Fuck you.
Or listen to the podcast, because Kahil White and I are going to do a podcast special on the entire Wheel of Time.
I only care about the tower part. Just tell me that part.
No. Because it's real interesting what's going on, actually.
Oh, fuck you.
Yeah, you can read the books and find out, or you can wait until PAX and listen to the panel. It's either going to be a panel or...
If there's a listener out there who's read all these stupid books, tell me what the fucking tower is. Also, if I wouldn't mind, just tell me what the deal with the Dark One is, and then I don't need to know anything else.
I don't know the deal with the Dark One yet.
I don't give a shit about anything else.
But I know the deal of almost everything now.
I don't care about those other things. I don't care about the two things. What's in the Snake Tower, and what's the deal with the Dark One?
Yeah, you don't care about Slayer? Like, what's his deal, that guy?
No, I don't even know who that is, and I don't give a fuck.
I thought you run it. Maybe you didn't run into him yet. He's the one who went back into the tower, I guess. I barely remember.
I don't know who that is.
But anyway, I'm going to finish the books, and then I'll read Oryx and Crake. The Geek Nights Patreon's going strong. There's a bunch of stuff in there. Emily and I have been reviewing a bunch of anime. We're going to be at Kineticon. Submit your panels, because I'm literally scheduling the whole con, like, right now.
So why is this so soon?
So if you didn't submit a panel, the places in the schedule I could put your panel are rapidly filling up with what I've already had submitted. Like, I'm not joking. If you wait a week or two, even if you submit a good panel, you're just going to be SOL. PAX Prime is coming up. I think PAX South badges are on sale. Notice how they're not sold out. You can totally buy them. PAX Prime badges will go on sale any day. They will sell out within a second. So buy them as soon as you can. And don't even try to get the Sheraton. Get some other hotel. Yeah, Geek Nights will be back on its regular schedule for the foreseeable future.
I bought a bunch of equipment that I needed to make live streaming actually work easily, because I tried to do it, and then I was like, oh, fuck, I don't have... And then I was like, oh, fuck. And then so now I should have, by the end of the week, all the things I need. And then Saturday is the Philadelphia Netrunner Regional Tournament. So starting next week, I'm just going to make a bunch of YouTube videos that are probably all bad.
Yep. And you might have noticed I've been uploading a ton of like Civ 5
streaming
videos.
And also not streaming.
And like panels we normally wouldn't upload, but fuck it. We're basically just going to start cranking out a lot more content.
I'm going to make a bunch of garbage because there's nothing better to do.
Yep. But frankly, a lot of content that's not 100% polished seems to do way better than a small amount of good content.
Yeah, YouTube seems to favor you when you do a lot of stuff. So fine, I'll do a lot of stuff.
So
you'll be sorry.
The floodgates are opening. Looky mighty. So at PAX, our friends Chris and Anthony, Chris has been bugging me in particular to play these two games for a long time, particularly the first one. And we played them. Scott, we've both played them, and now we can talk about them. But I stress, we're reviewing games that we played one of them once.
And one of them less than once.
Yes. So that is the level of review you're about to get, at least for now. I might revisit one of the two of these once I've played it a bunch of times. And the other one, while I appreciate it, I'll probably never play it again.
I'm not playing either one of these again.
I could play the other one, the second one again. So fast food franchise and Food Chain Magnate.
Which one are we talking about first?
I think we should talk about fast food franchise first.
All right, so fast food franchise is a game that I won. I got a full web, and it's basically just Monopoly. This game is Monopoly. You roll the dice, you move around the board, you buy stuff, but instead of buying hotels, you sort of, by this weird system, put little squares of your fast food franchise in this grid in the middle of the board. And if you are able to connect your grid, and I picked the ice cream, which has the most possible squares.
Yep.
Because they're not. It's not symmetrical, right? It's if you choose the fancy one that pays out more, you get less squares to work with. I picked ice cream.
Ice cream scream.
Right. Just randomly, I picked ice cream, but it had the most squares, so I was able to make a full 100% connection between all of my ice creams on the entire board with a full web. So anyone who landed on my ice cream had to give me $1 million, and when I passed go, I got like $1 zillion. And the only thing that separates this from Monopoly is actually pretty big deal, is that number one, you get eliminated fast. If you land on my ice cream when I'm set up like that, you just die.
Yeah, that's the way I describe it. Take Monopoly, and it's almost...
and you get a ton of money when you pass go if you've got stuff set up, and if you get $1 million, you just win. But it's imagine Monopoly ended after like 20 minutes, but it's basically the same game with a very small amount of decision making.
Well, the thing is, so I would say that this is almost a deconstruction of Monopoly, or a game like that.
No, a deconstruction of Monopoly would be Mad Magazine, the board game.
Well, but what I was about to say, if you deconstruct something, this is...
where you're trying to lose all your money.
No, but it's almost too close to Monopoly and too true to the feelings of Monopoly to... It's not like Madoka, where you took, the magical girl genre and said, wait a minute, look at it from another angle.
I should watch that.
This is more like Monopoly. Look at it from this like pure distilled angle where it'll give you a lot of the feels that Monopoly would give you, but in a much more streamlined, elegant, fast failure model where it has the snowball of Monopoly, but then just as the snowball crests the peak, game over, it's done. Like, in both games that I played of this, I got eliminated. I was just out. And you know what?
In Monopoly, you're eventually just out. Eventually.
Yeah, but eventually. In this game, Like, you're eliminated the second you can't come back anymore. Like, within one more go around of the board, you're just out because you land on someone else's chicken surprise and everything's over.
Yep.
And you just quit. And it's oddly liberating because Monopoly is a game that I do not enjoy playing.
You get just trapped in Monopoly because it's like you've already lost, but you have to keep playing because you're not eliminated, but you didn't officially lose yet.
But at the same time... but Monopoly at the same time, it's weird how it scratches a few itches around nostalgia and also like some of the gameplay mechanics. Like it scratches a few itches, but then it punches you in the dick repeatedly while it's scratching
Fast food franchise is just like...
Fast food franchise pats you on the back. Like it
you
scratches
can't win
that
anymore,
itch.
fine, stop playing.
Yeah.
And
like,
congratulations, you won, stop playing.
Like Fast food franchise walks over and says, hey, do you have that itch that says, hey, maybe I should play Monopoly? It scratches that itch really, really good. And then it walks away.
I think the thing it's missing that Monopoly has is the sort of like dog, boat, Mr. Monopoly, go to jail.
It has that because it's got chicken surprise.
Yeah, but chicken surprise isn't as good as like, oh, go to jail, do not pass go.
Are you kidding? Chicken surprise. You're
Or
running a fast food franchise that is called Chicken Surprise, and you
don't have bank error in your favor.
Guys, you have to click on the link and look at what this game looks like.
You don't have like win. You don't have win the beauty pageant.
Yes, you do on those cards.
Isn't it second place in beauty pageant? Or something? Yeah.
But the aesthetic of this game,
railroad, take a ride, bitch,
has been variously described by people I've shown it to as interesting, minimalist, what the fuck, that is horrible.
Right, well, because this was a small press game from the 90s, right?
It's
old. So if you think about like, you know, the relative production value of like indie tabletop games today to, you know, the super professional ones, think about what an indie tabletop board game looked like in the 90s.
But Scott, the logo of Chicken Surprise is so wonderful that is the equivalent of the top hat.
It's not a battleship blowing up a top hat.
I think it's on the same level.
Yeah, well.
Maybe I'm just really into Chicken Surprise. I want to make a T-shirt.
I'm also kind of into the, you know, Monopoly characters.
No one remembers this game. You know what I'm going to do? Because I've got Amazon merch.
Just
I'm
print
going to make the Chicken Surprise T-shirt. It's going to be that color, and it's just going to be the Chicken Surprise logo blown up front and center, and that's it.
Do it.
I'm going to make that shirt on Amazon just so I can buy myself a copy of it.
Shit talking is happening.
I don't think you understand how quickly I can make a T-shirt. Remember that listener who made that ugly fan art of us that I'm, for whatever reason, like really obsessed with?
I don't know which ugly fan art that is.
The one that's like stylized Ren and Stimpy looking versions of our faces?
Maybe.
There's a Dave and Joel one too. I made a poll in the Patreon of, hey, if I made this GeekNights T-shirt, would you buy it? And the resounding answer was, what the fuck, Rim?
If everyone is already giving us money, they definitely want the T-shirt.
No, they don't want the T-shirt because they hate the T-shirt. Emily looks at the design. She's like, no. But
it wasn't there a shirt where we were Dig Dug? Why don't we make that shirt?
Ooh, I don't remember that one. Find me that one. I'll make that T-shirt.
Someone made a fan art of us like a million years,
I don't
like
have
9-10 years ago. We were Dig Dug.
Find it for me and I'll make it because I can.
I don't think it was high res enough to make a T-shirt.
I could get someone to redraw it.
I don't think the colors are good enough either.
Yeah, but I could get someone to redo it just in the concept. But Scott, I can make 250 T-shirts and just sell them on Amazon.
If you want to buy a T-shirt with Dig Dug, but it's me.
I'm making the Chicken Surprise shirt, and then I'm going to email... Oh, is this Tom Lehman? Who made this game? I think it was Tom Lehman.
Lehman Brothers, Tom?
No. Yeah, Tom Lehman. So I'll email him and be like, yo, I made a Chicken Surprise shirt. Do you want any money from it? Like, can I be the official distributor of Chicken Surprise T-shirts?
Ask forgiveness instead of permission?
Well, I'll make one because I just want to buy it for myself. So I have to put it in the marketplace, order it for myself on Amazon, and then I could just take it down. But I want to go to him and be like, look, can I make like one T-shirt for each of the franchises in this and be the official T-shirt franchisee of fast food franchise merchandise? 50-50 profits. Let's go. Because like Ice Cream Scream is also a really good logo. It's just like this minimalist guy yelling in an ice cream cone. But it's also like the graphic design is like really minimal and weird. But at the same time, it's kind of beautiful because you look at this map and you like this board and you're like, what the fuck? But then you realize that it's actually a surprisingly accurate map of the United States. in a grid.
Sure.
And it is. And it actually works out that way.
Sure.
But, I mean, I don't want to really get into the mechanics because we're kind of just talking about our impressions of these games. But Fast Food Franchise is worth playing. Just get some people who are on your same wavelength. Find a copy of this game somehow.
Good luck.
Find Chris Reimer at any convention. If you live in Pennsylvania, just track this dude down, knock on his door, and be like, yo, Rim said I could play Fast Food Franchise with you guys.
I think this might be a useful game if you have a family that refuses to play a real game. You couldn't even get them to play Ticket to Ride. But you can get them to play Monopoly, and that way you can play this, and that's the compromise is they'll play it, and it won't take forever.
This is both simpler and more complicated than Monopoly, though. It's hard
but
to...
But someone who refuses to play Ticket to Ride but will play Monopoly could possibly be convinced to play this instead.
But they might be scared away by the weird abstractness of it.
It would be an improvement.
But I think this is a good game to get, like, high rollers, Scott. Like, people like us or, like, Jared Sorensen or Chris Reimer and do a live stream Let's Play of this game, like, all in.
I think because it's mostly a game of luck.
And
you should gamble on this game, and it would be a lot more interesting than gambling on other games that people usually gamble on.
No, here's what we do. We play the game, and we all put up money, and we do a live stream.
Play the game with real money.
But the YouTube live stream, we do a separate thing where it's basically salty bet, and everyone is betting on which one of us is going to win.
It's not exciting. Salty bet works because you can get a lot of bets on a lot of fights real quick. If this would be one long game, like 20 minutes, no one wants to bet on that.
The kind of person who would be fascinated by this game is the kind of person who would be all in on that.
You're getting two people.
Anyway, seriously, if you care about game design at all, if you're into this stuff, if you're into tabletop, I'm not saying this is a good game. I am saying you should play it once and just see what's going on in there. Because I enjoyed my time with this game.
You can just read the Board Game Geek and see what's going on in there.
I don't think you can. I think you need to play it once and experience it.
You're never going to find a copy, so it doesn't matter.
And I guarantee at PAX Prime, you're going to see me wearing a Chicken Surprise t-shirt.
Okay.
So the other game, which is a more traditional to the modern era of indie games game, is Food Chain Magnate.
I can see why. I mean, this is a real game, right? Like a quote-unquote real ortho game.
It has a kickstarted aesthetic.
Right.
I don't think it was kickstarted. I don't even know.
The aesthetic is actually kind of cool, retro kind of styling.
The game is beautiful.
Yeah, it's not beautiful.
Except for the board. I think the board is kind of bad, and I don't like the design of the board.
The board is bad, and it's like slightly unpolished, but it has that sort of retro 50s diner style, which
I'll put it this way, Scott. The issues that we have with the design, like the aesthetic design, are down to the level of those four things should be colored differently.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, but and I can see why people like this game a lot because it's like a real game.
Yep, it's a high skill game,
but
it's an ortho game. There's very little randomness. This is a Puerto Rico style. Like
there's like no luck whatsoever.
If you lose, you made bad decisions.
Right, but I don't like this game. I don't want to play it ever again.
Yeah, like so. It's, and remember, we played.
Just because it's a game of skill doesn't mean that I want to play it and it's enjoyable.
Full disclosure again, we played like 10 turns of this game.
Before I was so fed up we stopped.
So, Scott and I both hate this game, but we have to be clear. This game was brought to us by people who we trust, who thought we'd like the game, which was interesting. And I can see why they thought we'd like the game. And I can see why they like the game. I hate the game for very specific and narrow reasons. And Scott hates the game to a degree that actually frightened me.
It was just so it was just so painful.
Like, we start playing the game, and I'm like, all right, so I'm going to make a decision here, but I take issue with the way this goes. I feel like there's going to be a snowball that I can't come back from already. Like, I feel like the decision I made this turn, round 2, literally ended the game for me, and it's over. And I had this very specific... So Scott sits down, and basically, before I even got to that level of analysis, he's like, what the fuck is this bullshit? What the fuck? Fuck this game, and starts going apeshit at the table at length about how much he hates this game to a degree to where bystanders came over to see what was wrong.
Right, so... much like Age of Steam, right? This is a game that kicks your ass. Like, you fuck up one thing early, it's just like you're done. Unlike Age of Steam and unlike Fast Food Franchise, Food Chain Magnate, you don't get eliminated. You got to fucking sit there, right? So the main problem with this game is that on the right side of the board, there's all these bonuses, right, that let you upgrade your abilities, right? Everyone starts off on even footing, but
they're all crazy permanent powers.
There's crazy permanent powers that are super strong, and you basically upgrade yourself for the rest of the game. Like, I am better at this now than everyone else for the whole rest of the game because I got this thing. So
and there's a million of them.
There's a ton of them, so obviously everyone's going to get a different set of them, and that's going to guide their course through the rest of the game.
Yeah.
You know, and that is a perfectly fine mechanic to have, right? It's like, aha, I will be the guy who's better at A, and I'll be the guy who's better at B, and we'll take different strategic routes to build our machines and build different machines and see who has the most money in the end. That is perfectly fine.
Now, the way you get these things, then I'll let Scott go apeshit on why he's so mad about it.
Oh, yeah.
Is that there's things you can do in the game, like a million things. There's lots of options, like what you're
you got all these
doing in
different
the game.
actions you can choose on your turn, and different employees. You can basically choose which employees are going to work every turn, and that you've hired, and you can also hire more employees, and you can increase your capacity of how many employees can work per turn, and that sort of is what you do on each turn, right?
But this mechanic, full disclosure before Scott goes crazy, it is a very clever mechanic that in a vacuum I actually really like, but applied to this specific game, I dislike it.
Yes.
But I want to make it clear, like this mechanic has merit. So the way the mechanic works is if you do a thing, like every power has a condition. So one of the powers gives you like a ton of pizza or whatever, and its condition is if you are the first person to put a pizza billboard out on the board.
Right,
So,
something like that. Like if you're the first person to hire a pizza boy, you get the super pizza upgrade, and no one else gets it.
Yep. One of them is like, if you were the first person to fuck up and throw away food, you get a fridge that lets you never have to throw away food again, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And the way this works is if you hit the milestone, everyone who hit that milestone, the turn that anyone hit the milestone.
Right, so that's a perfectly good mechanic, right? Because now you don't have a turn order situation where like, oh, Rim went first and he snatched everything up. They figured that out. That's great, right? It's like, okay, we'll give it to whoever does a thing first, but if everyone does it on the same turn, everyone gets it. And then if you do it on a turn after that, well, you don't get it because...
Yep, so if you do the thing, if me and Scott get the thing, because we both like advertised on the first time, no one else can get those powers for the rest of the game when you flip them over. Now that could be cool.
Right. That's fine,
Right.
because obviously if someone didn't get those powers that we got, they're getting other powers, right? Because basically every turn, someone is going to be doing a thing that gets them one of these powers, especially early in the game, right? Where everyone doing everything is the first person to do that thing, right? And if you see, you can sort of tell what other people are maybe going for, and you based on different things and try to choose things that they don't choose. But obviously if you choose the same thing on the same turn, that's perfectly fine.
Yep.
Because you're going to get it too, right?
So it's like whatever direction you push in, you're going to be able to push harder in that direction. And the game, among skilled players, would be very clearly, because there's no real luck in this game.
Yep.
Scott pushed in direction A, and I'm pushing in directions B and C. So the competition is the direction we're pushing enough to overcome each other? Like, you're specializing in the thing you're doing.
Right. And then, the game will actually come down to more specific decisions, like which spot did you put your advertisement on the board? And, like you can really get...
Did you anticipate that Scott was going to push B 3 rounds and then swerve and push C a little bit, thus diversifying crazily? Like, did you anticipate that? Could you counter it? Which is similar to what happens in non-luck games like Puerto Rico, where did you anticipate that Scott was going the factory route and set yourself up to capitalize on that while you go the other route?
Mm-hmm. It's like, you were planning you picked trade. You thought Scott was going to craft, but actually, nope, he didn't pick craft. And now you're stuck trading nothing. Good luck.
So, Scott, regale me with why you don't like that mechanic in this game.
So the main problem is that if you fall a turn behind under any circumstance, you're basically just fucked, right? So what happened is I misinterpreted some of the things in the game.
Now, I think Scott misinterpreted them because he's dumb.
Partially because I'm dumb, but also partially because there's some issues with the design of the thing.
There are a few cards that really need to be a different color.
There are a few things that need to be a different color, and there's a few things that could be worded better, right? But I just messed up. I didn't realize something, so I made a decision where I thought I was going to get a thing, and I didn't get it. And the result of that was I could not be the first to do pretty much fucking anything for the rest of the game, so I couldn't get any more upgrade abilities. and I was pretty much just done.
Now this
there's
happened
no way, and there was no because everything is first come and that's it. There's no other way to get stuff. I couldn't catch up. So why was I still playing this game? It didn't. The game is a long game. I would have had to keep playing.
Yeah,
it
the game itself. What they say on the box, quote: "This game can be played by 2 to 5 serious gamers in 2 to 4 hours."
And it's like, well, I fucked up one thing on like turn 2 because I didn't get it right. And now, and as soon as I was afterwards, I realized it within like, immediately like, oh, that's not the thing that I should have done because of that. But it was too late. And now I'm just fucked. But I have to sit there for 3 hours? Fuck this.
Now,
I'd rather complain and then leave the game.
It was a little more narrow in that the game's a snowball game. The way I would describe this game is everyone starts at the top of a mountain.
Yep.
And they make a snowball, and the snowballs are all the same size. Mm-hmm. And you pick what direction to roll that snowball off the map. Mm-hmm. And they just accelerate and accelerate and accelerate. If you, drop your snowball...
If your snowball hits a rock or something.
Yeah, well, if it hits a rock, it was your fault.
Yeah, but it might split into,
Yeah, but you might. There's all these.
If you make any mistake whatsoever, right? And the thing is, I made a mistake of a beginner who didn't know the game early, right? And early is, I guess, the worst time to make a mistake. But you can make a mistake in this game at any time. You could be really good at this game, right? Not obviously, if you're incredible at the game, you're not going to ever make a mistake, right? But you could be in a situation where you're good at the game, you understand it, but say midway through the game, like after hour 1, you make a mistake. And now you're just fucked. But you already invested an hour in the game, but you can't win, but you still have to keep playing. Now, it's not over.
Power Grid, base Power Grid, is an example of a game where if you played the game a lot, and it's a bunch of skilled fucking players playing that game, it ends up being the same way. Like, if Scott has $3 extra left over at the end of a round, he fucked up and didn't optimize for the last 5 turns, and that's the fiddly, tiny decision that means he loses.
Sure.
But that only happens after you've gotten to the point where you're all playing this game at Ultra Pro mode. In this game, that happens immediately. So if I had to describe what this game is really like and who it would appeal to, if you like Twilight Struggle, you like this game. Because they're games where you have to commit to being very good at the game and navigating the simple, because they're not complex, but highly divergent heuristics of the game. They are not intuitive. You cannot play this game by gut. It's like the difference between chess and Go. If you just kind of feel your way through chess,
you're going to lose.
You're going to lose, but you'll do okay. If you know the rules and you have some basic knowledge of chess and a little you watch some people play.
You'll try to take more guys than the other guy takes, right?
Yeah. But if you play and if you play the chess in the long, long run, the attractors in chess are slow defeat or else a draw. In Go, the attractors, as the game tree expands out into the void, are all losing. If you go in semi-random directions, you just lose.
Yeah, and it's not... that's the thing. In Netrunner, this happens a lot, too, where there are certain types of play, certain lines of play that your opponent can have, and it's okay, I see that I'm losing this game, but I'm still doing stuff, right? It's I still got stuff going on. In Railroad Tycoon, this is a big thing that happens, right? Where it's okay, I see I've lost the game, but I'm still moving cubes, and I'm still building tracks, and I'm still putting trains and playing cards, so I'm still enjoying myself and doing things, even though I know the best I can do now is second place, because look what that guy did, moving 10 cubes or something, right?
Yep.
There's certain things that happen, and in this game, where it's not only did I know I was going to lose the game after making that one mistake on turn 2, but I pretty much couldn't do anything effective. I couldn't sell even one food, right? It's I literally could not do anything meaningful on my turns anymore. If I played the best I could play from that point on, it's literally I've done nothing. I've made no money. I can't get any more stuff. I can't do anything. I'm just locked. And I'm not even if I continue to play and try to enjoy it, it's I can't build trains or put cubes, or I'm just sitting here doing nothing, making meaningless decisions. I can't move.
Now, I'm going to say something. This is a good game. It is a well-designed game. And Twilight Struggle is a well-designed game for what it is. Those kinds of games. But this is the kind of game that, because of these complex heuristics, well, not complex, because of these simple but surprisingly divergent heuristics, and because of the harsh penalties for failure, and because all of the attractors in the game tree are ridiculous failure, the only way to enjoy this game, you have to be the kind of person who wants to pick a game like this, play it a million times, and become very good at this particular game. If you're good at games in general, that will give you almost no assistance in being good at this game, unless you do what I was doing until Scott and Chris and Anthony yelled at me to stop. This game also can suffer from extreme analysis paralysis. I could have navigated that heuristic tree by sitting there for literally 5 or 10 minutes on my
turn. You did take a
turn.
fucking long time on your turn.
Yeah, and you know what? I did better than you.
Yeah, I'm not going to put in that kind of effort, especially if I'm at a convention, right? I'm not looking to, right?
But I'm saying this game, the only way to be good at this game is to play it a lot, to be good at it, or to study it and do a lot of analysis and calculation, slowing the game down, which explains why they say the game takes 2 to 4 hours to play. Much like Twilight Struggle, you have to play it and be good at it, because it has a whole bunch of named cards that do very specific things, and the game's only interesting if you know what all those cards are and what they do. And your opponent also knows what they all are and knows what they do, or if neither of you knows. So you can only play this game.
If you play this with a bunch of people who've never played it before, you could all make mistakes and still maybe not, have a problem because you all made mistakes. So
but then you still have to force people to not spend a long time on their turn, because if someone does think longer, it's like a choir. If you actually calculate out, you could play this game very well the first time, and it's going to take the full 4 hours to play the game.
Now, this game has another problem, which is one I've noticed in a lot of games before. One that always comes to mind when I think about this is Quarriors, which is the Dice Dominion.
That game feels like it should be so good, but it's not.
Right. And that problem is basically big stuff never used. Right? So it's like there's these huge cards you can get if you upgrade all the way, like these ridiculous employees, like the CEOs and stuff, like these ridiculously powerful cards. And from what I could tell is if you were to play this game to completion, right, you would maybe get one of those cards on the final turn or second to last turn, maybe you would get one of them and maybe use it once and the game would be over at that point, right? It's like in Quarriors, you get one fancy super powerful dice and maybe roll it once and the game will be over by that point. It's like, dudes, if you're designing a game and you got big, powerful stuff in that game,
at least let people use it. Like in Civ 5, at least let me use the death robot for 10 turns.
Hearthstone is actually a good example. It's like in Hearthstone, you can play and put out big, amazing, legendary creatures and actually use them a bit before the game ends, right? You can actually, get to use the heavy hitters and enjoy the fun of using them.
As opposed to Magic the Gathering, where if you got one of those, Legends golden dragons of 3 colors out on the table, good job. Yeah. Good job getting that dragon out there.
And then, and you probably lost the game before that happened. And
or you won a long time ago.
It's going to die instantly. You've already won and you're just playing that because you've already, because you can, because you're already controlling the game, right? It's it's like if the top level equipment in your, whatever game you make, right? The top level, most powerful stuff, right? The big buildings in Puerto Rico, right? Whatever's the biggest, strongest stuff should be able to come into play, say, between 75 and 80% of the game's completion, right? And then after that, there might be bigger stuff, but that stuff should be victory points only. It shouldn't do anything. And that way,
you don't feel bad that you didn't get to do it.
Like you buy a big building in Puerto Rico, all it does is give you points. It's it's not a bit, but you get a university, which is the biggest building that can do something, and you'll get you can get that and use
wharf is
it.
Bigger.
You can get the wharf in Puerto Rico and use it. You can get it, 50, 60% of the way into the game.
That little machine game we were playing, the game where you pump stuff through your factories, the card game. We played it at PAX.
I don't remember.
You bought it, or I bought it. One of us bought it.
Oh my goods.
Yes, that game has a good mechanic where when the game ends, you've built your machine of all your different buildings out there doing shit. At the end of the game, you get to crank your whole machine a bunch of times. So you built the crazy building at the end, you get to use it multiple times at the end of the game, rewarding you for having it. There's ways to get around that problem that.
Yeah. So whatever the biggest, funnest, most awesome, powerful thing there is in your game, players should be able to get that thing if they play well, obviously, right? With at least 20% of the game remaining, so that they can actually use it a bit and have a bunch of fun with it, and then the game should end not you don't want to give it to him too early. If you get that stuff halfway through the game, then it's like, oh my God, why isn't it over yet, right?
Yeah.
But like with 20% or less of the game remaining, you should be able to get the biggest, strongest, most fun thing and use it 2 to 4 times, right? Get some uses out of it as the finishing blow.
Yeah.
Right? That, if this game, it's like you could never get the most powerful level stuff. You know what they could have done to make that better? Just remove that top level of powerful stuff. Just not have it in the game. And that way, the funnest, most powerful stuff is stuff that's, gettable, right? It's like just cut away your top level and now make the second to top level the top level. And that will now become, simply because it's at the top of your tech tree. Like, you play Civ 5, you can't actually get and use XCOM dudes, right?
I have used them in long wars.
Only if you continue after the game ends.
No! I've used them in long wars to win the game.
I've never gotten XCOM dudes before the timer was up.
I had a fleet once of a bunch of XCOM dudes, and not 1, but 2 giant death robots, and I used those to take out a bunch of cities from a civilization that was close to a culture victory so that I could then get a science victory.
Well, obviously you were having a science victory already.
Thing is,
right?
I could have just taken out his capital and had the domination victory, but I was sick of always getting domination victory.
Right, but I mean, whatever your top level of stuff is should come into play before the end of the game.
Yeah. But anyway, we didn't play the game enough to give you like a deeper review than that, but suffice it to say,
unless you like being punished, right? Don't play this.
Oshioki. Or if you like games like Twilight Struggle that are serious, luck-free, long,
Twilight Struggle has some luck.
Yeah,
card
heavy
drawing.
Analysis requires significant investment in that specific game as opposed to games in general. I can think of a lot of kinds of people who would really like this game.
Sure.
I am not one of those people.
No.
This has been Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geek Nights is not 1, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geek Nights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geek Nights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.
The patrons for this episode of Geek Nights who are paying at least $5 a month in order of the amount of money they give us on a continuing basis are Alan Joyce, Rebecca Dunn, Nicholas Brandow, Heidi McNichol, Amanda Duchette, James David White, Christian, I hired a genealogist and we aren't pending a blood test, Kuntz, MyStady.com, Sean Hayworth, William Eisenrose, Jeremy Miner, Spartacus, Matthew Smith, Kimberly Batchelor, Kshar Tavishan, Joshua Jurstar, Tyler Eller, Don Schleich, Sean Yeager, Clinton Walton, Ren from New Zealand, Robert Lee, Ryan Perrin, Drew Openlander, Ray Lavelle, Brian Citroni, Rochelle Montanona, Finn Eric Silverrod, and the Infinite Sadness, Kinetic Man, Aaron Cerise, Chris Midkiff, Chris Knox, A Red Lion, Sam Cordry, Daniel Redmond, Chris Haddad, Sean Klein, Chris Reimer, and Thomas Hahn. I know we had a long outage between PAX and me having the flu and then me being in Hong Kong and Australia. I recorded a bunch of Rim's Rants, but I didn't have any bandwidth in Australia, and Patreon doesn't work so well in Australia. So I'm going to be uploading those over the course of the next couple weeks. You'll also get the April Q&A from me and Scott. The May one is still taking questions for another week and a half or so. And remember, the theme for May is something Scott will hate. It's politics. But we're back, we're bad, and now I leave you with something weird.
My ding-a-ling, I want you to play with my ding-a-ling.
This act is over.
Especially,
most of the people were leaving the office already. Right? They weren't eating that many during the day when they were freely available at lunchtime.
Well, I mean, you know me. The situations were like, I'll eat literally all the cookies we own before Emily even comes home
You couldn't
from
have
work.
eaten that. Even you could not have eaten that many cookies.
In that
it
fugue
was so
state
many cookies.
in Wildwood, where Skojo says, hey, didn't I buy a whole dozen donuts? And everyone looks at me and they're like, Rim, how many did you eat?
Yeah.
I only ate like 7 donuts.
My suspicion is that you see, is that the cleaning person just fucking threw them all out. In which case, I'm gonna find them and murder them in their sleep.
But that wouldn't make sense unless your building has a weird, fucked up policy of like no food overnight.
No, we don't have any such policy. But the cleaning there's something, basically when we changed offices, my job is the same as it always was. But basically, since changing offices, there are some improvements, like better chair, even though it's still not a great chair, and
Yeah, you got no pellicle.
modern office furniture, better internet setup, right? The Wi-Fi that actually works, right? But the culture of the people in my department is the same, and all the people in general are the same, right? But the people who run the management of this office, like office managing, right, is giving me some serious problems.
Well, I know you can't ride your bike easily, like you have to lock it up
Right,
outside.
I was like, the building has no problem letting me bring my bike into the building because I saw someone do it, right? And so did my other coworker who bikes. And I'm like, hey, can I just bring my bike in the office? Like, there's no room. I'm like, there's room right behind my fucking desk, right? And they're like, well, if we let you do it, we'll have to let everyone do it. I'm like, well, let everyone do it. What's the problem? They're like, it would be an aesthetic concern.
Whoa.
Right? And I'm like,
if someone ever said that to me, phrased that way, I would consider just immediately quitting.
I considered it, right? So that pissed me the fuck off.
Yeah,
because basically, you're telling me that you're that person who complains about the neighbor's car being too old.
Yep.
Right? And I'm working for you. Why should I spend 8 hours a day helping you out, right?
Yep, that's it. You got time to lean, you got time to clean situation.
Right. It's like, it's like, that's not it's like my coworkers is still the same. And what happens when I do that is they want to hire me.
Yep.
And then I reject them because they won't agree. And then we just waste everyone's time. And then I've tried negotiating up front. And what happens then is they don't want to hire me.
See, I always came in with a separate thing. If I act like they already gave me the job and are just talking about like how it's going to be when I'm there. That's how I treated every interview I've ever done.
I mean, that's, the I want you to hire me mode.
Yeah, but at the same time, those interviews were always for places I actually did want to work. Like, I decided, like, I do want to work here.
There's no place I want to work. I want to not work.
Well, there's really no place in modern society for you.
You don't say.
Yeah. We're not post-scarcity yet.
I want to work as little as possible, but every place that wants to hire me wants me to work more.
Now, just saying, what if our Patreon got to the point to where you could make the same money you make now, but we were paid just to do Geek Nights 4 nights a week again, but we made the same money we make now?
Yeah, that'd be if you're giving me that much money.
No, but I'm just saying, as a theoretical, if the Patreon were at that level, would you be willing to put the effort in to do Geek Nights 4 nights a week like we used to?
4 nights a week? No,
yeah.
Well, I mean, we just do 4 nights one day in the week.
We're incapable of doing 2 nights in one day now without considerable bitching.
But I don't have to go to work. I can just wake up on Monday, record 4 podcasts.
Yeah. But I'm saying, is that an
fine.
acceptable level of like required work and office work, everything all mixed in, and money? Would that work for you?
It's only 4 hours a week. That's okay.
It's more like 6 hours because it takes us a while to actually figure out what to do the show on.
I think with 6 days of doing stuff, I could get up enough material to do 4 shows.
Yeah, I mean, I got to say, like having basically 3 weeks off of Geek Nights just because of sickness and travel.
We could even do 8 shows in 2 days.
Holy shit, do I have stuff for like a month or 2 worth of Geek Nights just like queued up now.
But you'll forget it all.
I put it all in Google Keep.
Okay.
Because I'm real smart now.
Whatever.
So, in the news...
It's not happy times.
Yeah, meanwhile, I just went to my company. I was like, hey, It's Tuesday, May 24th, 2016. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, it's a fast food fracas with fast food franchise and Food Chain Magnate.
Food chain isn't necessarily fast food.
That is true. But I needed an alliteration with the F.
Let's do this.
So yeah, there wasn't Geek Nights in a while because we were at PAX, and then I got the flu, and then I flew to Hong Kong, and then I lived in Australia for 2 weeks, and now I'm back, like, over the weekend, and I guess we're doing Geek Nights again.
All right.
Anything happened while I was sick and then gone?
Yeah, something happened today.
Oh.
So, over the weekend, I made some cookies, and then I brought them to work yesterday, like I always do.
That's nice. A guy at our office brings cookies occasionally, and they're super high quality when he does.
That's how I always do, right? So, I left the jar there in the office, And I left work last night. And
What, that giant jar, like the one that you always?
Yeah,
put?
it was more than half full. People didn't eat a lot of cookies yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you can only eat so many cookie, right?
I mean, I was about to say, like, you know me, right? But even I have my limit.
So I've done this many times before, but this is, I guess, the first time doing it and since we changed offices, right? But whatever.
Yeah.
So when I come in this morning, I go to get a morning cookie, like you do,
Yeah.
and the jar is just gone. Like the whole jar has disappeared.
Whoa.
And I'm like,
Wait, so like the jar was there empty, or the jar itself is missing?
the entire jar is missing. It was in the spot where the jar was. There was now nothing.
All right. Did someone steal your jar?
So I go around look. It was still really early. Hardly anyone was in the office. So I go around looking for the jar, and I found it. It was empty and perfectly clean in the kitchen.
So someone not only
So I
ate,
start looking for all the cookies, and they're
Wait,
not
you're gonna
there.
find them like in a drawer, like.
So I mean, if people ate them all, that's fine. I'm okay with that. That's the point, is people would eat them. But I can't imagine that anyone ate that many cookies between 5 yesterday and 9 in the morning today.
Yeah.
So the management of this new office, with this executive influence is pissing me the fuck off.
See, as much as I complain about like working
But the
for
problem is I want to go, it's like everything else is great though. But, if I want to go somewhere else, the problem is I can't find anywhere else to fucking go. Right?
What about that weird place that would have paid you money for like 4 days a week?
Are they even still in business, that place?
If they
Right?
still are at this point, maybe call
you know
them
what the
back.
business they were doing, right? This is the problem, right? Okay, so I'd work 4 days a week. That's terrific, right? And they probably would have I got a bike ride into work. None of those
Yeah.
problems would have happened.
And Scott, in 2 years, they go out of business, and you just find another place that's the same and repeat.
I can't. There's no guarantee that there's a place that's the same. And also,
Scott,
the work that place was doing is they're basically hitting the YouTube API and scraping the entire thing every night.
I know.
And also, they're going to expect me to do fucking work, right?
Yeah.
I don't do work. I sit around and get paid and don't do anything. That's how this works. Okay?
But Scott, I'm just saying, for someone who is a good developer, like a real developer, like a New York developer, like the kinds of people who want to be paid in money and not lottery tickets, you can pretty much just get a job that's at least,
but all those jobs fucking suck. They want me to work.
yeah, and you
They actually want me to develop something, and it's like, fuck you. No, just pay me to sit here.
see, Scott, the way this is why I wouldn't necessarily hire you to do any work, because I know you won't do it.
No, because that's exactly the thing. Is these people are expecting me to sit there for a long time working. It's like, no, that's not how. I mean, obviously, I don't do no work.
Yeah.
I get the work you're asking for done in 10 minutes, and then I want to fucking leave. That's
Yeah.
how it is. And at least no one will let me leave. But at least where I am now, I can watch YouTube after I do my 10 minutes of work.
See, I have sort of a different situation where I have more work than I could do.
Oh yeah,
but
and if your internet is filtered or monitored in any way, I'm not working for you.
that actually is a deal breaker, and I have like said that openly anywhere I've ever interviewed in the past, and that was always okay.
Right. I mean, basically, I've tried both ways, right? I've tried the, be nice and try to convince you to hire me, and then come out negotiating at the end.
No,
the work is still the same. Everything else is still great. But I found out that I'm working for that kind of asshole, right? It's like,
You could engage in an elaborate gaslighting campaign between you and all your smart coworkers to get that person fired.
you basically like the CEO.
Oh, so the office manager is the CEO?
Right, basically, right.
That's weird, because like my company...
No, the office manager isn't the CEO, but basically they're like, the executive, the letter, I think the email said something like, the executives would not approve something.
Wow.
Right? So basically, at this company, right, we've basically, we don't really interact with these, the executive level people, right, ever, right, since they bought us. Like, we don't talk to them or know them or anything, right? And only on like a couple of occasions there have been like weird decisions handed down from mysterious unnamed individuals.
So Scott, I can at least tell you, when I worked at IBM, it was like that. Like, we did our thing and everything was fine, but at one point, one of the senior management people at IBM, like top people, ended up being in our building, like in the same area. And a whole bunch of weird stuff started happening. Like suddenly, like you weren't allowed to leave doors open at certain times. And they had like rules about what could be left in public areas. And they like all this weird sort of just annoying stuff started intruding into my work.
Right. My tolerance for that is very low. So, and also another thing that happens, right, is the fucking cleaning people, right? It's like they go around every night. And if you have like a coffee mug on your desk, they take it away and clean it.
So that's not that uncommon, Scott. Corporate bullshit. Like if you
But
want
it's
to talk
like
about,
I have one on my desk and I don't drink any coffee. It's just there.
yeah.
And occasionally it's just fucking gone, and I'm like, fuck. And then someone's drinking out of it, and it's like, oh, Jesus Christ. It's like,
Yep.
don't touch shit on my fucking desk.
But that's a specific thing that's come up in like the last 4 or 5 years. It's like the clean desk policy where and I bring this up because the only companies that give a shit about that are the same kinds of companies who are worried about aesthetic concerns.
Exactly.
They want
So-
the desks to be clean.
right. So this whole,